Hi, and welcome to another episode of Ask Geoff and Lauren. We're here to answer your questions about the double bass, whatever the topic, whatever the genre, the style. We're going to try and help you with whatever challenges you're facing. So if you have a question, post it in the comments below. And we're going to get straight into today's question, which is from a guy called That One Guy. So That One Guy is asking us, Lauren, do you have any tips or advice for a positive audition experience? And it's such a great thing because whether it's a classical, orchestral audition, whether you're on, it's you're auditioning for a jazz group, whatever, or a show. What's the kind of thing that you like? Maybe talk me through your preparation. How would you prepare for an audition? And what are you thinking at first, Lauren? Give us a few ideas.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say I kind of see it in two different stages. It's the preparation stage leading up to it, and then the day of or even the night before. There are things that I do, to sort of calm my nerves and things that I do that I know won't mess me up. So in terms of preparation, the first and foremost thing that I make sure I do is give myself enough time. I have been in situations where I have not had enough time to prepare, and that is just, you can do it, but that's when my performance anxiety just goes into overdrive, because I know that I might not be as prepared as I could be. So typically, depending on what it is, like let's just talk in terms of orchestral auditions, because that's sort of the topic that we've been on. I try to start preparing at least 2 months before. And what I do on an everyday basis, depending on how big the list is, like the audition that I'm preparing for right now is a really big list. It's almost 20 excerpts. Wow. And I cannot work on every single one of those excerpts every day. So I just make sure I have some consistency. I work on half one day and half the next and sort of alternate. And I just make sure that I do a lot of slow practice, especially in the beginning. I do slow practice all those 2 months, but right at the beginning, when I'm first learning them, slow practice is so crucial because those tiny little motions that you're going to be making with your hands, those are going to be the first things to go when you're nervous. And so, understanding what you actually feel like when you're relaxed and not tensed up, that's going to be really important, especially. So I start working about 2 months ahead of time, and I'm constantly listening to the pieces that I'm playing. Like, this sounds really silly, but like when I was preparing for an audition last year, I had this playlist of all the pieces, and I just, I listened to it when I worked out. I listened to it when I went for walks. I listened to it just, when I was making dinner. You want it to be that these pieces so well that you could hum them on the drop of a hat. And then on top of that, within those 2 months, once I feel like I sort of have the excerpts down, I ask people if they can listen to me play.
Oh, that's really important. That's really important.
And I get different kinds of people to listen, but just to give you an example, the orchestra that I was auditioning for last year, I got the former principal to listen to me play, and that was really helpful because he knows the orchestra and all that kind of stuff. And then I would also get another orchestral player and then maybe like one of my violinist friends. But you want to be playing for people not only so you can get feedback, but so you can get used to that feeling of like, oh my God, I have to play for people. Another thing I do is record myself, because what you hear when you're sitting behind the instrument is sometimes very different than what you are actually playing or what it sounds like in front of you. So those things I just do consistently. I try to practice every single day, even if it's just for like an hour on an off day or something. I try to make sure I'm touching the instrument every day. And then when I get to the night before the audition or the morning of, the night before, I will just take it easy. I might play through the excerpts a little bit, but I'm not going to do any heavy practicing. The morning of, it's the same kind of thing. I'll just do some warm-ups. Sometimes I'll even just play something that's not even on the audition just to kind of get myself warmed up. And I will actually make like a list, like a routine of what I want to go through, so I don't have to be thinking, no, I should do this. No, I should do that, because I'm a really indecisive person in general. And then when I get to the audition, I'll always find some kind of room or like even a bathroom, and just take a second. And I meditate every day. And so I meditate for like 5 minutes, just kind of focusing on my breathing, focusing on my heartbeat, especially because my heart races when I'm in one of those situations. And I just try to make sure I can kind of keep still and that when you get into the audition, I know I'm sort of going all over the place, but this is such a huge topic that when I get into the audition and I sit down, don't feel like you have to rush into starting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
give the chance for the room to settle. It's the same with your performance, isn't it? Really, like, if people aren't sat there, they really need a gap between what they're thinking about and what they've been talking about. Just let them sit for a minute. And it always feels so long as a player, doesn't it? It always feels like eternity. And you listen back and it never is. But if you rush straight into it, I completely, that's great advice.
And when you're sitting there, you want to be thinking about, you're going to be told what excerpt to play first. And so let's just say, they ask for Don Juan first, which would be so mean of them to do because that's so hard, but they might do that. And what you want to be thinking about when you're sitting there first, just try to calm your breath and kind of just don't even try to calm your heartbeat, just pay attention to it. And that I find, is just enough. Focus on relaxing your arm and then think about, what does this piece sound like? What's the tempo? Subdivide.
Get the tempo in your head before you start playing.
The tempo is so important.
Because if you sometimes people just start, and I've done this before, and you just start and you're not thinking it through, and when you actually start, you're then not at the correct tempo. Particularly as you'll be inclined to rush because you'll be excited or nervous. I just maybe throw out a couple of different ideas, Lauren. Actually, one thing I did have that I was going to ask you about there. So for me, I've found it's useful not to play the pieces on the day. I really try and avoid them, but I do try and warm up, whether that's scales or something else. But I just in general think if you can prepare beforehand, but on the day, don't expend energy, playing through them. I think it that's where you'll suddenly start to doubt yourself and think about it. And, is it that fingering or that fingering? It's done. At that point, you can't really improve. You're just going to stress yourself out.
That's really funny because I am 0% like that at all. I have to play through everything, or else I will be stressing out, and I'll think that I'm going to forget everything. I'll play everything. I'll play through everything, and I won't practice them, but I have to play through everything just like for peace of mind for myself. But it's really just what if that stresses you out to play through the pieces, then don't do it. But if you feel like you need to play them just to put your mind at ease, then there's nothing wrong with that either.
And I think the other thing is to remember that everybody in the room wants you to do well. It's sometimes you kind of go in there with this fear, and people are actually sat there listening, and they're really willing you to do well. They're not hoping that you're going to do badly.
Nobody wants to watch somebody crumble. Just completely crumble. Even if you're behind a screen, which you probably will be if you're auditioning for an orchestra, nobody wants to hear that, because that sucks for everybody involved,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just sort of putting some perspective on what you're doing. These ideas of trying not to rush, don't think about filling the space all the time. Try and think about tempo and try and memorize as much of the music, of course, in preparation for the audition. The more that you have ready, the more that you can go on to muscle memory, and the more you can think about actually playing and entertaining people, and expressing something musically, rather than just note bashing from the start to the end, in fear that you're, and I think,
and I agree with you, I really do. But with memorization, that's a touchy subject for me, because if you memorize, there's sort of an in-between period for me. I can either have it not memorized at all and completely reliant on the music, or completely memorized. Right. But there's this in-between period where I sort of have it half memorized, and then I just fall apart, if I make one mistake, because I can't find the part on the page and everything. But, what you're saying about just focusing on playing a good performance, people see, I'm just talking in terms of orchestral auditions, people see those as you just have to play completely perfect. But in the end, it's music. People want to hear music. And if you go in there and you play everything perfect, that's great. But they're going to really enjoy it if you come in and you make some beautiful music. So if you just focus on that.
Yeah, well, I think that's a really great place to finish there, Lauren. There's some great tips, and thanks so much for your question, that one guy. If anyone has anything more that they'd like to add, this is a great topic. I'm pretty sure there's some Contrabass Conversations podcasts that are all about this topic. It's a 4-part series Jason's putting together. If they're released now, I'll add the links below as well, because I've got a feeling there'll be a bit of a fantastic resource for people going through this process. Lauren, thanks so much for all your help with this one today, and we'll see everybody next time.